No.
Can't do anything with this weather. Are you kidding? Yeah. Okay, we are on.
You're on.
Call this meeting of the Auburn School Committee to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And introductions. Let's start with you, Bob.
Bob Manili, Ward 1.
Brian Belknap, Ward 4.
Faith Fontaine at large.
Bonnie Hayes, Ward 2.
Tom Kendall, Ward 3.
Katie Cronin, Superintendent.
Pat Gaudier at large.
Voice on Ward 5.
Alfreda Fournier, Mayor's Rep, Ward 4.
Michelle McClellan, Assistant Superintendent.
And Adam Hansen is at the annual Business Managers Conference this week, so he is not here this evening.
So he's excused.
He has an excused absence.
Okay, excused us. Very good.
Who's
Communication.
that in Hawaii?
Yeah, we win.
He only
He's in
wishes.
New Hampshire. He's in the state next door.
I
Exactly.
would say that, right?
If only
it's in
could
New
we-
Hampshire.
Very late last night.
Oh,
Left
yes.
very late, and he was leaving the same time. I said, "Why are you still doing here?"
All right, communications.
Exactly.
Bonnie has a communication.
In the Sun Journal this past week, there was 100 years ago, 1919. At a brief but important session of the Auburn School Board held Wednesday night, teachers for the ensuing year were appointed and their salaries fixed. Teachers at the elementary grades received an increase of $50 over their salary of last year, and those of the senior high and the second year of the junior high, an increase of $75.
That's annually.
Yes. Others, increase.
Yeah.
Others' salaries remain substantially the same. Superintendent Randall was retained by unanimous vote, and his salary was fixed at $3,000, a considerable increase. So the point of this is, we're going to lower your salary to $3,000 and tell us how it goes, okay?
You know, whatever, sure.
Never, but there we go.
I'm not sure I'll be available when you need me, but
I thought that was very interesting, over 100 years ago.
That is.
oh, yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
Other communications? Anyone else have something they'd care to share?
Yeah, I have some questions that I received from Laura Garcia, which I will give to Katie, and at her convenience, she can respond to me or to us as a whole.
Very good.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Bob.
Bob.
Any other? Seeing none, let's move on to the consent agenda, which is the approval of tonight's agenda, the approval of our minutes of our May 1st meeting, and the consent agenda includes the certificated contract nomination of Kira Sparta. Do I have a second? Yeah, motion, Bonnie's motion, a
So
second?
moved. Did somebody move it already? Yes.
Yeah.
Second, if so.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
So this would
Very
be
good.
an example, though, of a position that is in the budget. A person left mid-year, so there'll be a savings in that account as we bring on this person. But that's an example of why our salaries here and there. It depends on replacement. It depends if somebody leaves, when we can replace them. So the speech pathologist, those are difficult positions.
Yes,
So we're
they
very
are.
excited. This person's coming from Portland, and she knows our other speech pathologists, and of course, always good reports from another employee of ours to someone else, encouraged her to apply, and we are so excited to have her coming on board. But that's an example of some savings in that line for
That's
us.
good to know.
Yeah.
Very good. Public participation. Not seeing anyone out there that necessarily qualifies as general public. We know everyone else out there.
I will say, because Scott Anir and Todd Sampson will be on the radio station next Monday at 7 a.m. 7 a.m. with Matt. It's called Breakfast with Matt? Yeah, Breakfast with Matt, talking about the new high school project. So we'll make sure we tweet that out and get on our Facebook page, that if they want to hear from the principal and the athletic director around the new project, they're going to be interviewed. So we're excited about that.
What are the call letters, or what is the station number, the numbers? It's media, it's Gleason
Gleason
Media.
Media.
Gleason Media is a WOX, if I remember that, Is it WOXO? Okay, I don't know where this comes from.
And a quick synopsis
It's a
of
Z.
what you're going to say, Scott, is basically vote yes.
Z.
Z106 or 109?
Come up,
Come up to the
come
mic.
up. Gotta hit the
Been hollering all
microphone,
day, you
Mr.
don't need
Anir.
to.
Gotta get the microphone.
We will provide lots of facts and information, try to support understanding for people. And absolutely, my message is what, 1 and 2 are valuable reasons for us to be voting yes for by the time we've determined and laid out the information there. Like, that's the objective.
Yeah, so we're excited
Just
for that.
Lots of information, lots of facts, trying to not have sniglets, but a whole chunk of information be able to provide. They will ask us questions and just really kind of go through the project and what it entails in questions 1 and 2. And I'm in full support of 1 and 2. Absolutely, we should be yes. Yes,
What
yes,
time
yes.
was it again?
I believe 7. Yep.
7,
Yep.
Monday?
Monday.
And I think they archive them.
Yep.
Yes,
So
they do.
if you can't do it at 7, I believe he archives them next. Yeah.
Very
So
good.
I'll get more information out to you so that you have it.
Anytime, anywhere,
Yeah.
we'll speak.
There you go. All right, I believe Katie has something along student information items because we have excused our 2 student reps
We
due
do.
to a reschedule of a track meet.
Right, so they both work as well, so their work schedule got shifted so they could be at the track meet, but they're responsible girls, as we can see, young ladies. They did a video to share with us, so you don't always have to be in person to share information, so here we go. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
To the meeting tonight. However, we wanted to contribute and made a video for our student report. We emailed schools and checked websites for information, and these are some of the things that are going on in our schools. To start, AMS Drama Club will be putting on their production of A Midsummer's Night's Dream on May 16th through the 18th. Shows are at 7 p.m. on the 16th and 17th, and 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. on May 18th. Tickets are $5 and are available at the door. AMS also had a home track meet tonight, and according to my sister who's on the team, their season is going very well. AMS Step Up Day is June 10th, and the 6th grade parent night is also that day. Moving on to Fairview. Students at Fairview have been working on earning tickets for following the Fairview School Tiger Pact, being safe, respectful, and responsible. As a school, they work together to fill a large clear tube kept in the school lobby. Once the tube is full, students vote on a school-wide reward. Students are just about ready to choose an activity to celebrate their achievements. Fairview just celebrated Breakfast with a Buddy last week, an event where students bring in a family member or friend to enjoy breakfast together. This event is sponsored by our PTO and is also paired with our annual book fair. Mrs. Aslan's class celebrated publishing a class book with an author's celebration where students read their stories to their families. 6th grade students from all the elementary schools will be having their first school dance this Friday night at Park Avenue School. Fairview's PTO celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week last week by providing a breakfast for all staff to enjoy. And the Fairview School website has a list of upcoming performances and end-of-year events happening at Fairview. Feel free to check them out. At East Auburn, as you may already know, May 6th through the 10th was Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week. The PTO at East Auburn decorated the school with camping theme and handed out daily treats and gifts to staff. Teachers were also recognized at a special staff appreciation luncheon. East Auburn wants to say thank you to their amazing teachers and staff. They appreciate all that they do. East Auburn Music and Art Show was also held on May 8th and 9th. Ms. Dorsch said students did a fabulous job singing and showing off their incredible artwork. They had a full house with standing room only on both nights, and also wanted to thank art teacher Mrs. Strom, and music teacher Mrs. Didell, sorry if I butchered that, for putting on 2 great shows. And lastly, at ELHS, senior trip is this Friday at Six Flags, as well as ELHS Community Service Day. In other news, Mr. Terrio's AP Psych classes are working on revamping the social study hallway. Students had mentioned how since the carpet was taken out, the hall looked like a prison or an insane asylum. So the idea is to take the blank space and develop a theme with interactive activities, education information, and important school information. Some ideas that were generated was to have a puzzle wall, walls that reflected the teachers in that hall, and information for days like recovery or mentor days. More information will be available as we continue the project. And that's all for our student report. Thank you.
All right,
That was excellent.
that's well done.
So I want you, you each to have a ticket to the AMS play. So if you get a chance to go, here's your ticket to go. They are performing, and I won't think of the name, but they have put in for an award. So people come and judge the play and determine whether it will be given an award. So Peter Robinson, who is the director for us and also has a co-director, they feel like this really warrants recognition, and so they have been put in for the award. So it should be a great show. If you haven't gone, they're a lot of fun. It's amazing what middle school students can do for performing. It's awesome.
Actually, I thank you very much, but we're not going to be here this weekend. So
If somebody needs to, yeah,
it's this weekend, right?
it is this weekend.
Yeah,
Yep.
so if somebody would like my
Friday night.
ticket, they're more than welcome to have it.
You're going to Rockwood?
Yes, I'm going to Rockwood Bob, yes. With Dan.
Dan. All right, I won't tell Bob.
Nor Dan's wife.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report, planning and development. The Healthy Androscoggin is here to share some information with us regarding jewels.
Yeah.
And
So
they're
I'm
not the jewels that.
Oh, not the jewels of our day, no.
Right.
So I'm so glad to have Mary Karen here, and I know Scott, you're here as well, if you want to join us to kind of explain what you're doing in partnership with Healthy Androscoggin. But we're really so pleased to have Healthy Androscoggin stepping up to help support our school and its needs as this new epidemic around jewels. So I know, Mary, you have things to share with them and to inform them and educate them on what we're facing.
Yeah, sure. So basically, my name is Mary Karen. I work for Healthy Androscoggin. We're a local district tobacco prevention partner. So basically, we get money from the state to be a local resource when it comes to tobacco prevention. And as you may have heard, vaping, e-cigarettes has become a big problem and has been on the rise, not only here, but across the country and across the state. Lots of people are talking about it, and this right here is probably the biggest reason why. I have a couple to hand around, so I'll bring them up in a second, but a little bit about it. This is the Juul, which is probably like the newest, not the newest, but the most popular of these vaping devices. So a vape, e-cigarette, Juul, they're all the same thing. They basically all work the same way. They all have a battery, and then they all have some sort of liquid that the battery heats up a metal coil, which heats up the liquid inside, and then that's inhaled. And about over 99% of the e-cigarette products that are sold contain nicotine, which makes them a tobacco product and which makes them a concern for young people using them, especially because the Juul in particular has, in this one little pod of liquid, has the same amount of nicotine as an entire pack of cigarettes, approximately. So there are very high levels of nicotine in these devices. Some are sold with lower nicotine levels, but pretty much all of them do have nicotine, which is intentional, just like in cigarettes, to make them very addictive, especially for young people who might start using these thinking it's just something cool and they'll be able to stop whenever they want. But young people especially get addicted to nicotine or really any other substance much more quickly than adults because their brains are still developing. And it interrupts those brain circuits and interrupts learning and memory and attention and all of those other things. So I will hand these around before I continue. I also have another Juul with the piece that connects it for the charger. So it actually hooks into the computer using a USB, just like a phone charger or something like that. And you'll see that the bottom is magnetic to that charger. So I'll hand this one around as well.
So a teacher would think there's something charging in a computer, or it's a computer piece, or a parent might say, oh, that must be their drive, when it isn't. So if you're not educated on what it would look like, you might might not know. So that's why we're trying to educate parents on what they're looking for.
And that's really been a lot of the appeal of these devices is they look like tech products. They look like a USB stick. They're very small and easy to hide. They're very customizable. They sell skins and things to put on them to make them look like other things. They sell, charging cases for them. This is a pack of the Jewel pods, which slides into the device, the ones that you have going around, you can pull it out. And they come in different flavors like mango and fruit medley and mint and cucumber. And the flavors are very intentional as well, in that the flavors are all targeting young people, and young people want the flavors. They also have a Virginia tobacco flavor, but it's not a top seller, unsurprisingly, because young people want the thing that tastes like mango.
Is that nicotine underneath those flavors?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so each of these
Don't
has,
smell smoke anymore. You might smell, is somebody eating a fruit or chewing gum when they are probably smoking.
Vaping.
It's disguising what they're doing.
yes. So it's not obvious, and there's not a big cloud of smoke. It's, very easy to hide, which is really the big appeal. And not only does Jewel sell their pods, other people sell ones that can be refilled, and you can buy like a bottle of this e-juice is what it's called, and refill either the Jewel pods, or there are plenty of other devices, new ones that are coming up, that are refillable, and you can change out. There are thousands of flavors. So this is blue raspberry flavored, and then this is a Maui sun flavor. And if I hand this around, the smell of this is like overwhelming. It's very powerful. And that's the only smell that you'd catch in the vapor. So I'll hand these ones. Okay. Last.
And they're easy to access online.
There's many different ways that young people will get them. I've heard of online. Some retail stores will sell them to someone who's underage. They won't card. There's cases of just older people buying them for a young person, whether it's a parent or someone who's over the age of 21. Yep.
What's the current law? I mean, follows the same as cigarettes?
Yes, it does. Yes. So it's 21, tobacco 21, to purchase, but not all stores are necessarily keeping up with the laws. And then online sales are really hard to regulate, and the FDA hasn't necessarily kept up or been able to keep up because there are so many different online sites to buy them. I've heard stories of young people posting that they want to buy a Jewel on Snapchat or another social media site and being able to access it from someone else that way. So there are lots of different ways that young people will get them, and that's really kind of the basics of how they work and why we care about them a little bit. And we've been working quite a bit together on addressing the increased use, because young people are actually more likely to use these products than adults are. And now these companies are trying to say that they're for adult smokers who are trying to quit, but they were not marketed as such at the start, and young people are much, much more likely to use them. I think it's about 20% of high school students in the nation have reported using these, and it's about 2% of adults. So it's a huge difference as far as that goes. But basically, with this, we've been working a lot together on coming up with different ways to address it. We've been working on tobacco policies and updating them to make sure that these devices are included. And we've also been working with all of the young people who are doing extracurricular activities and doing this program that we titled Consider This, which is basically, we talk about tobacco and Juuls and alcohol and marijuana, and then do some resiliency building and activities to practice, like how to say no and situational kind of things, to just kind of get them thinking about it, and hopefully thinking about it in a positive way, and realizing that the decisions that they make matter to the things that they care about in their lives.
They can put marijuana in a Juuls, correct?
Yes, that's a whole
We're
nother.
also facing not just tobacco, but students trying to hide it through the Juul device.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. A
using
marijuana extract can be used in a Juul or another vape device. It's really a matter of, there are lots of different devices out there. Juul is just the most popular by far. And a lot of young people don't necessarily realize that there's nicotine in these devices, maybe more now than before because we've been talking about it a lot. But you know, the most recent Maine Integrated Youth Health Survey, over 50% said that it was just flavoring in the pod or in the juice that they were vaping, when in fact it's almost always nicotine.
You want to explain what Todd has done with athletes and?
Yeah, so Healthy Androscoggin has been a magnificent partner, and we're so grateful for their role working with us. So over a year ago, we started to see this growing trend of this e-cigarette, this Juul, this vape, where we were trying to get our hands around it and understand all the ins and outs with it, and then just continuously see the growth of it. And so we got some information and were able to really try to identify how concealed it was. And like in the old days that we all could imagine, it was real easy to encounter a student who was smoking in the bathroom because you had a lot of evidence, the smell of them, the smell in the bathroom, and this was so concealed, like it was really hard. And then this Juul is just this tiny little component that is so easily, interchangeable with a USB device. And so, there were times that it was out in front and nobody even knew it was there. So we started to see this a year ago, and we started having an increase in the number of students that were violating the tobacco substance use policy at school, whether they were an athlete or a non-athlete. We were starting to see that trend really grow. And as the school year was coming to an end and we started talking about what our next steps would be and how do we address this, we started to look at how do we get education to kids about this in a manner that we had an attentive audience. And having everyone sit in the gym and try to do that presentation was not going to be the right delivery vehicle for that. As we neared the end of the school year and we started examining many different things, one of the places that we started to partner with Healthy Androscoggin was to put in where do we already have a captive audience, and that was with our students that were participating in the extracurriculars, our sports and our band and drama areas, like those that would fall under the contract, because then we had some teeth to be able to say, in order to be able to participate, you got to go through some type of training. And so we partnered with Healthy Androscoggin, who were able to put together a program that was required for anybody that was going to be on contract. And so we started that in the fall, and it was even if you were a three-sport, you had to do it the first time, and if you didn't do it in the fall and you only played in the spring, then you had to do it in the spring. So we tried to hit that population to be sure that we were offering some education and some tools for them to be able to navigate those typical peer pressures and to get greater understanding of what is actually in these things, because the teenage brain can use logic when it's to their advantage, and so they would say, well, it's safe, it's not smoke, it's not, so they would go through that whole rationalization process, which was why it was so valuable for Healthy Androscoggin to be able to provide that information to our extracurricular kids. And so we embedded that with part of the requirement of their contract to go through their sports season. And so we've run 3 of those sessions, and again, we made that a mandatory thing. Just like you have to have your concussion testing to start each season, you got to have the consider this training. The good news is that, our whole idea was to try to be proactive, try to take the education model. And since then, we've had a variety of schools have reached out to Todd Sampson, our athletic director, because they're seeing the same thing and they're behind the 8 ball. I'm not saying this has stopped everything, but they have reached out and said, oh my gosh, you guys had this program. How's that working? And we want some information, and they want to connect with their right partners to be able to do the same thing for their extracurriculars. And again, Healthy Androscoggin has helped us as we've dove into our contract around the substance violations there. They've been a great partner for us they've been working right side by side with us on whether it's best practice, whether it's the appropriate language, whether it's legislative statute that we need to be navigating with. So they've been right in step with us and working and trying to provide those resources. As well as, throughout the building, on and around bathroom doors, there's information about deterring the use of vaping within the building. Some of the kids have created their own. We've had some from the state. We've had some from Healthy Androscoggin. So we're trying to get that message out. The challenge is that not only is this such a concealable thing, but there's the marketing of clothing now. They have sweatshirts where the strings you can tuck right in there. So there's a whole industry that goes along with it. And so our battle royale with it is not just the jewel, but how to uncover that when you are trying to, work with a student to investigate, because it's so hidden on them. So that has presented its own challenges, and like I said, you can't easily smell it or detect it like we would have in the old days with smoke. So we've really tried to push. If you see something, say something, let us know. When students have had a school violation for that, part of our suspension diversion program is that we have a substance abuse counselor that's down there so that they do an assessment, and that typically happens on Tuesdays. Hopefully, with fingers crossed that the budget goes through, that we have our substance misuse counselor who will be there on a full-time basis, not only to be able to support every single day the students, but be able to provide that education with our health teachers and with every teacher within the building. To be able to support the students not only with their decision-making, but with the health effects that are going on with that, and then to be able to support students who do find themselves in a violation, so that we're using it as a teachable moment and not just a punitive moment through that process. So we have that. That was something that we were able to put in at the end of last year. We had some changes in staffing for that, so it wasn't 100% to start the school year, but we've been pretty consistent with the Tuesdays to make sure. What we can do is try to scaffold in when students go to the suspension diversion program so that they are following up with them on those Tuesdays. The real challenge that we're now having, which is why I feel like having a substance misuse counselor on a full-time basis in the building will be most powerful for us, is that to have that follow-up with the family and have that connection so that they're part of the process when there is a violation has been a challenge for that person, because they're only available to us on Tuesdays. So this wasn't intended to be a promotional thing for the substance misuse counselor, but that would be another tool for us to be able to address and educate students on the harms of the vaping.
Are they doing anything at the middle school or the upper elementary schools? Do you know?
I couldn't speak to that. I don't know.
I could add, I know, so one of my colleagues who I work with very closely has been doing what's called Tar Wars with, I know, 4th and 5th graders. I know she's been at Park Ave quite a bit. I think she's also done some presentations to 6th graders there. I'm not sure that any of us have been in the middle school yet at this point, but we'd definitely be willing to provide any sort of resources or education that we can there as well.
It's certainly something that is coming up in our peace classes, as well as I know Rhonda LeCompte, who's the, come on, help me, consumer science teacher. It talks about that at the wellness committee as well, and how this has been such a big issue and the impact there has. She's needed to bring up her understanding and education so she can build that into her curriculum. So, but I think our partnership, we learned through our partnership with Healthy Androscoggin that this voice has been a very powerful voice with our students to hear it. So.
Yeah, and there are video resources, like we've shared with staff, what are you looking for? There, you can go on YouTube, and they have video for parents, for teachers, on what are you looking for, so that people can be updated. So, doing things with parents to educate them as well. Yeah.
And we've also, with our partnership with JMG, Jobs for Maine Grads, they have an at-risk program that we run through our school. It's been an excellent partnership, and one of the tools that they have for supporting students at risk, which meets every definition of at risk, is excuse me, is they have some Odyssey-ware programming, and one of those pieces that has just come on board has to do with vaping and some decision-making that goes with that. And so we're exploring how to get that into some sort of mandatory component with a suspension diversion program in there. So that they have just brought that on themselves. And so now we're just trying to navigate where those cogs fit together for us, since we have them in the building and we have the access to the Odyssey-ware, which has been very powerful for us. But just where is that? Because there's a certain level of self-directedness to that. And we also have that for a couple other topics that we can utilize. But so it's an online component, but we're still trying to get the cogs lined up. So it becomes another tool for the education when we do find a student in violation.
Approximately how many kids have been disciplined for this so far?
Whew, I can get that data to you, but it's large.
And I've seen online or read in one of the out-of-town papers that technological companies are actually selling vape detectors similar to a smoke detector.
Mm-hmm. And we've Katie and I have had that conversation.
Talked about it.
Yep, and they're very pricey, and we've started to look at the potential for some grants, and we've started to look at some strategies around those detectors and where to effectively locate them. As well as through the school day, we have certain bathroom settings that are not used because they're located farther out of the mainstream, and then we only open them up at certain times. And we really try to make sure that there's a lot of visibility of staff around many of those bathrooms. But I agree that we have identified some of these vape detectors and started to look at will the cost come down as the technology gets better, as well as what are some possibilities and where would be our best locations to put them. Yeah, that has been a conversation.
Bob, you had sent that article to me, and then Scott and I are like, we could try one out, we could get one and try one and see. Yeah, we
was a
were
very
talking
good
about
Friday afternoon
it.
conversation.
Yeah, we had that conversation.
Scott, would you say that, just back to Mr. Manili's point, would you say that discipline is happening once a month with these type of
Weekly,
situations?
daily, yeah.
A lot.
Daily, this is an issue that we address. And it knows no boundaries. It's not exclusive to any type of demographic within our building whatsoever. And I mean any type of demographic.
Yeah, the thing that really astounded me, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a member of the Auburn Lawson Hall of Fame, one of EL's best athletes ever, and I asked how his son was doing in basketball, and he looked at me with downcast eyes, said his son just got caught in the bathroom vaping. He was suspended 5 games. I could not believe it. You would never expect that, or I never would have expected it.
I think that Pat had a good idea, a good follow-up, that if the high school kids can't discern what's going on in their minds to be rational, the middle school kids have no idea. And that just goes back to, what are we doing for the middle school? What are we doing for the middle school? If we can get them in the middle school before they get to you, Scott, then we might be ahead of the game. And I would certainly encourage Bob Griffin to
Oh, yeah,
talk
definitely,
to.
definitely.
That's an excellent suggestion, I think, catching them early. And I remember doing some, one of the courses I took, how quickly it is for students at this age to get hooked and on any of this stuff. So, acting quickly is what we need to do, and it sounds like you're doing that. Do we have that embedded within the language for the disciplinary behavioral language in terms of policies? Is the word vaping in there? Or
Yes.
Funny you should say that.
Because it's so new.
But he is, yes.
So Mary was working with me. She was good enough to come and spend time with me early in the school year and to look at our policy, look at model policies out there, what would bring us to a best practice in our policy. So that's been in the process. It's actually with the subcommittee, and you should be seeing it next week for a first reading.
Oh, good, good.
So the policy and procedure.
So fast with this.
End of June, I mean. It also, it impacts, so like with many policies, and this one is a good example, it impacts other policies. So simultaneously, and maybe, Scott, you want to speak to it, we've been looking at the athletic handbook
Right.
and the impact there. We'll also be looking at the student assistance policy after that to trickle this out to make sure that we have really more up-to-date responses to this.
That's good, very good. Wow.
I assume this also touches all other student handbooks and policies from all the way down through the school.
Yeah, well, this policy will be informed through that, right? So once we update this in the beginning of the school year, those policies go out with those handbooks.
So they'll go through the junior high from the middle school. They'll go down to the middle school, right? And the fifth.
In elementary.
And just to, along with that, not in place of, but along with that, the athletic or the extracurricular eligibility handbook does address 7 through 12.
No, I was just going to say, I think that after talking with Scott and the assistant principals, that the scary part is that they're so concealable that you may know a child is vaping, but you can't prove it because they can put that wherever they want, and we can't, strip search our students. So it's happening on a daily basis, but it's scary to think how much more it's happening that we can't, pinpoint that and find them in the act of it, because it's happening a lot from talking to my daughter, talking to other kids. It's like chewing bubble gum. And that's what they think. They think there's nothing wrong with it, but the studies are showing that it's worse than smoking cigarettes. It's very scary.
Bad for their health.
Yeah, I would say, just to speak to that point, I've even seen pictures just online of students hiding one in a Sharpie. So it's just like a regular old Sharpie, and they have it in their pocket or their backpack or whatever, but it's actually been rigged to just be a container for one of these. And there's definitely more and more research coming out, but unfortunately, the long-term health effects, we can't just say this causes lung cancer, just like cigarettes, because there hasn't been that long-term research. But there has been research to show what's in that vapor, and there's a lot of different things that are, cancer-causing chemicals that should be concerning. They found metal particles because they all have a metal coil in them, so you're heating up the metal coil and then inhaling from it. So they've actually found heavy metals like tin and nickel in the vapor. And I actually have a couple of just basic CDC infographics that give just a very high level if you're interested and have some more of that information. So I have those
You can
here.
give it to me and I'll scan it out to them.
Yeah.
That would be good, thank you.
And I believe you had said that some of them have exploded in people's mouths, correct? Was that you that?
Yes, there have been cases of the batteries being defective and exploding. And then there also have been cases, because it's a flavored nicotine juice, of either kids or pets consuming them and being poisoned from the high levels of nicotine in them because they smell or they taste like whatever that is. So those are rare cases, but there's still a piece of it. And then I think another important component of the research that's starting to come out is that young people who use these devices are actually showing to be more likely to use cigarettes at some point in their life, which I think we can all agree is something that we don't want a whole nother generation getting hooked on.
Is there some kind of a coordination with the police department to see if retail stores would start carding? I mean, if that's the law?
Yeah, so there is an enforcement for the Tobacco 21 law, and there has to be either, basically there are compliance details and things like that, but the people that do that are from, I think they're in Augusta, and they're supposed to cover the whole state. So it's a big, geographic, coverage area. And so there are enforcement details. I don't know how often they're happening, and I can't speak to that. And there are, there's the Office of Tobacco Control, I think it is, you can report to them if you think a location has been violating that policy, and they can, have a detail specific to there to try and check it out and see what's going on and things like that, and hopefully enforce some of those penalties and those laws to get retailers in compliance.
But if a child's caught using one on the streets by a police officer, they don't do anything, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All of the enforcement for the law falls on the retailers.
So kids can be smoking them down the street, and they can't get in trouble. Wow. Even if they're 7.
Wow. This is hard to fight here.
Well, and there's a lot going on. I think cities are looking at how to ban some of these devices as they're finding out more and more about them. I think the government is going to probably be forced to look at, there's many groups trying to fight against, you're claiming this is not a cigarette, or you're claiming it's not a smoking device, and it is. I was sharing with Mary, and I think I shared with all of you, I listen to 97.9, who runs commercials saying, I quit smoking, I Juul now. Okay, that's not correct.
Right.
And I wrote a message into them, but it would take, people saying they're not going to listen to the radio stations that play those type of commercials to get change. And students do not think this is a big deal, just like they don't think marijuana is a big deal, right? They think marijuana isn't a big deal. Why are the adults making such a big issue out of this? So
It is a health risk.
it's right, it's a health risk, but in their minds, I should be allowed to have choice on what I'm doing. Yeah. So that's even a more struggle. And then you have parents that are doing it, just like the marijuana. So you're fighting, a whole
Uphill battle.
circle of it. My mom, bought it for me, and no.
And
We're
I don't
taking
think
it
we
away.
put anything in
Which is why the
legislature, no
policy and
laws.
procedures become so important, that we have the language that's very tight around that.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
good eyes to see and catch, good training. That'll be one of
Exactly.
the things you have to do every year is train them on what to look for. One more thing you have to add on to.
I know, one more thing they have to worry about while they're teaching.
I know.
That my back turns, are they juuling when
Right.
my back's turned?
Right.
Oh,
So-
yeah, no, it is.
Only takes a puff, right?
Okay, a
Just
puff.
one
Yeah.
puff.
So the one that plugs into the computer,
These all plug into the computer. It's just,
Okay.
they're all the same.
okay,
It's just the charging port.
okay,
Yep.
it's just the charger, so they're not sitting there smelling it. They're just charging the battery.
Exactly, just charging the battery. And there are other ones that are becoming more popular that will also charge in the computer. They just don't necessarily look exactly like this one.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Mary?
No, I'm overwhelmed.
I know.
I think we all
It
are.
is, it's a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for all your
Thank you for
assistance as
having me.
well.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, moving along, the business for tonight is the finance report for April. Bonnie?
And you too.
And Faith.
Bonnie and Faith, Adam said you got it, so
Got it
they've
tonight.
got it.
Got it, right.
Right.
All right, the good news is that we're 83% of our revenue has been collected.
Crazy.
Yes, just think,
Year's
we're
almost
almost
over.
over on it. So we're looking pretty good. We're still watching the same issues that we have, special ed, and seeing what's going on with special ed on it.
There will be a transfer. You can-
And there will be a transfer, yes, on it. People would think that we could have control over the special ed. We can't have control over the special ed. We don't know who's coming in
No,
and who's
you never
going out.
know. That's
So we
right.
have no idea at that point. So we just will transfer and make it balance at the end. So we've got that we're dealing with. We had quite the meeting. We talked about, we talked about 83% of the revenue. We've received new buses, so we're very excited about the new buses.
When did we get those? Are they in service now?
Yes, there
Yes,
is.
they are.
Yep,
Yep.
they are.
Yep. We talked about substitutes on it, and our line is pretty whole on the substitute. And the reason is that we
Can't find 'em.
can't get substitutes on it. And it's very difficult. We raised our pay grade. Lewiston raised theirs, higher than ours. So.
Yeah, you go
can't
back
win.
and forth, it's like, yeah.
Good for the subs.
And we do ask teachers in their timeframes, if they have any extra timeframes, the principals and whomever else, ask the teachers, to sub for us on it.
Sub for a sub.
Right, sub for a sub on it. So we are working, we are in negotiations, so I'm not going to go any further with that one at this time. On it, let's see.
You know, with a low unemployment rate, you're going to struggle in this area. You don't have people looking for these type of positions, and if they are, it's very temporary. So Michelle, if you don't know how we work it, they apply on School Spring. Michelle and Diane Blay work together to coordinate interviews. Michelle interviews every sub. If there's a sub issue in a building, Michelle is notified. She meets with the sub to have a discussion whether they're going to continue subbing or not. So, you know, I know that was a question regarding why is that subline up, and, you know, we still have money there. We also haven't had the same degree of long-term absenteeism, so you have to weigh out how many absenteeism. Michelle every morning checks what our fill rates are.
I do.
So she'll come down and say, oh, we're not doing well today, or yay, we're doing well. So you can explain some of that stuff that you're monitoring.
Right, so as Katie said, we do interview subs. Every week I'm seeing at least one, and sometimes more than that. The issue seems to be, as you said perfectly, they seem to be more temporary. We have a small pool that are our regular subs, and we get people who apply, and we bring them in as soon as we can, interview them, train them, and then release them thinking, okay, we're building the pool, but they're temporary. They're not, many times they're students who are with us for vacations and then back to college. That's a certain population that we seem to hit. But others are people who are either trying to fill in around another schedule, or just, I don't have something right now, but I'm looking for other full-time employment. And so once they find the full-time employment, they're no longer subbing in our schools. Yes, we do monitor the rate every day. You know, I'm sometimes not even out of bed, and I'm looking to see what the fill rate is. I can look before I go to bed at night, and we can have a fill rate of 80%, and then in the morning we can be at 60 or maybe 50%, depending on if it's flu season, what's going on, you know, in families, that way. That's been our most difficult and challenging job assignment to fill, is those, what I call the overnight absences that come forth. So if there's anyone out there who would like to sub in our schools and who is qualified with 60 credits or more, we are beginning to look at that as criteria we've had long-term, and whether we want to make a change to that. So we are taking case-by-case situations. If somebody has less than 60 credits and wants to apply, we certainly are considering those as well. But that is the standard right now. They'll see it on School Spring, 60 credits or more, and if they're interested in subbing, they can go on School Spring and make that known to us, and we'll get them in for an interview.
So 60 credits are required, so where does that put you in? Is that a junior in college?
Associate's degree.
Associate's degree.
Equivalent to an associate's degree. So
So 2 years.
finishing your sophomore, you finished your sophomore year.
Is this
Maybe that's
education credits or just
Education credit. No, any credit.
any credit?
The liberal arts, it's liberal arts credits.
So
basically,
liberal arts
first
credits.
2
Any,
years.
I mean, I would qualify.
You would.
So do you have 60?
you
might have
can't.
qualified for
I
that, but
tried.
I don't know.
In one way.
I tried.
And they also, if you're a really good sub, you're probably going to be scooped up to be an ed tech.
You will,
So if we have an ed tech
Right,
opening
right.
and you're doing really well, they say, would you like to fill the ed tech position? And now we're down a sub again.
I know.
Or a tutor position, or, so,
Our subs will work as much as they want to work.
right, exactly.
They'll work every day.
Michelle's a big advocate for it. She'll come and say, can we relax the credits? And I'm like, well, we have to talk about, because once we accept only a high school diploma, we have to really be careful that we screen well. There's some people with a high school diploma, would be great. There's others that would not have the skill set. So we have to make sure it's a match. And those who have 60 credits sometimes is not a match. So
right. It's
we've
only-
also talked about degree differentiation. So Michelle's always coming in, you know, can we make shifts, just like raising the pay? Can we raise the pay? And I said, we can raise the pay. It didn't, I don't think, increase us highly because there isn't a lot of people. So you could raise it as high as you want, but if you don't have the workforce, it's not going to matter.
And if
But
you've
we
ever
do.
subbed,
It's
if you
tough.
ever subbed in the 7th to the 12th grade, it's a nightmare.
Bonnie.
No matter
Not
what.
everyone
Selling
says
it.
that.
It's a nightmare.
Bonnie,
That's not true, Bonnie.
You have to have the skill sets to deal with the nightmare.
Some
some
might
people would
feel
think
that way about-
kindergarten is also a
Some, but
challenge.
I get
I would
that
rather
same thing
do
about.
than kindergarten.
So, moving on.
But yes, thank you, and we do have some great subs. I
Yes,
would be remiss if I
absolutely.
didn't say that, so.
We talked about overtime for bus drivers, that line is high. And again,
It's another one.
we don't have a lot of bus drivers.
another
So if you took the course out today with a bunch of students, and you need to go to Sunday River, or you need to go to Kennebunk, then we need a bus driver, so that's overtime on it. So we would like to have more bus drivers, but we are using that. Go ahead.
And the other line for bus drivers is not down.
Right.
So we're paying overtime over here, but the
But
other
it's-
bus
right,
driver
balancing
line
out.
salaries is
Are-
not down.
It's only like at 79%.
Right. So there's another example of, you might think, wow, you're not spending the money here, well, you're spending it here, and it's making up for it over here. So it's a balance, check and balance, yeah.
So we looked at all of those, and then we looked at tutors. And tutors are our special group of staff that we have. And we use tutors for special ed, which comes out of the special ed budget. We use tutors for regular instructions when needed. And we have not had to use that line this year. So we're doing a good job.
And sometimes we do it a temporary so that the money would be drawn from the substitute line and not the tutor line. So a principal may call me and say, listen, I'm really struggling with this or that, or they're in referral, can you help out? And I say, absolutely, why don't you hire a substitute a sub to come in for the next 2 weeks, and let's see how we do. It wouldn't come out of the tutor line, it comes out of the substitute line.
That's where it needs.
Right. So the minute you hire official tutor, it would come out of that. But we do a lot of temporary helping support a student in a temporary way. So it's where are things being billed, so.
We also looked at other professional services. We've discussed that. We're watching that line too. And then we went to the bonds. So in the bonds, we have a CIP update for scheduled projects of 2019. Walton lockers. We're going to have, the bid has been awarded for Walton lockers. It's estimated that they're 80 years old. So we're,
Right out from under 'em. They're
Yeah, because
gone.
you saw them, yeah.
right, so 80 years old lockers are being replaced. The Walton field fence is being replaced. The bid has been awarded, and the Walton bathrooms, the bid has been awarded. We're going to start construction on Park Avenue's addition soon on it, so we're out to bid on that. We have other things that we're dealing with as far as the CIPs, and some of those have not been planned or awarded or bidded out yet. So we're looking at that. So we're pretty much in line with where we're supposed to be on it.
And the Walton bids that were
When will
awarded
we
came
hear
in.
about the Park Avenue bids and results?
I beg your pardon?
When will we hear about that?
The bids, let's see,
I think there's a date.
due May 21st.
Yeah.
The
bid
bids are due
closes.
for May 21st on it, so that's a good thing. We have our clerk of the works for the project on our side. Mel Cole has been secured for that, and the project will be finished hopefully in September, October on that. We are going to do it so that there is least upset to the students in the school. So the part that is up over classrooms will be done this summer.
Summer, yeah, and classes aren't in session.
Right, and then we'll work downwards from there on it.
And what I was saying about the Walton bids that have been awarded, those came in right where we estimated them to be, so that's good, because we weren't sure where those would fall, where construction costs are up right now, so that was good to see that where we predicted to them to be, that's where they're at, so.
And we're very conscious of construction costs being up. We've got a new school on our sites, and we're concerned about that. Pat, you had a question?
Yes, is this fiscal year 2019 or 20?
The bids are for
2000,
2019. We're always a year behind on the CIPs getting them
okay.
constructed. What else do we have?
That's what I thought, but I wasn't.
Using last year's money.
for
So
this year's
you'll
projects.
notice on the bonds, and Bonnie, you're doing a great job on thing, is Adam is really looking at those prior years to make sure we're spending down those dollars that are in the what, I don't have in front of me, Bonnie, yeah. So spending down the FY, like right now we have the money for FY for 2014 will be expended, has been expended. FY16 bond money of $531,000, that's going towards the Park Avenue project. So we're really looking at making sure we're spending down those dollars as we go into FY17 is pretty much complete. FY18 is being spent on the projects from last year, so we have funds there, and then the FY19 bond funds. So we're trying to be very conscientious to make sure they're coming out of the right lines when we're, that's how we were able to do Park Avenue. We had to look at bond dollars from previous years. Correct. Yep.
Just a point of clarification, the fence, I recall that we were looking at that for CIP for the following year, not for right now, but that was, you found money to do that now, is that what it is? Because when we looked at the budget, that was proposed for next year.
We are doing, the bid has been awarded for the Walton Field fence.
This was for this year. It gets confusing.
Yeah, because I remember
right.
seeing it in this year's
You're right,
budget.
Bill.
Right, it does get confusing, and what they did is because they were doing the bleachers, you know, we're doing the bleachers, we did the fencing included in that discussion, so I think that's probably why he went with the fences. Because we went out there and looked at the fence and the bleacher area, and that needs to be replaced. Yeah.
So that's where we are. We are right on target. We're watching what's going on. We will have to transfer money from the 11 lines that we have to balance the budget and be sure, and we'll need to do that, especially for special ed on it and whatever else comes in. Remember, we operate on a balanced budget.
So I can assume by that report, and Faith, you can verify this, but we are not in danger of going over budget. Is that correct?
Overall, no.
No.
Okay.
No. We're, typical budget, we're down on some, we're up on some.
Right, but overall, it will be balanced.
Overall, it will be balanced on it.
But I think it's good practice too, if some lines are over budget or not, because it gives us a true picture of what we're actually spending.
Right,
What, what we
exactly.
don't need, that kind of thing. So I think that's good practice to do that.
Believe me, when we meet on the Monday before this meeting, we scrutinize it. We're there for a good 2 hours, looking over the budget and asking questions on it.
Good, thank you.
We also have Francois Boussier, who is a citizen who was on the school committee, and Francois he was always part of the committee, and we've asked him to stay for a number of years, and he lends a good retired citizen respect, right, to this. So we are good. We have a fantastic staff with Adam and Jackie and the business office. They're good. And we had one before too, but this one is good.
Any further questions for Bonnie on the finance
Or Faith.
report? Faith, anything to add?
No.
You're
I
good.
think she covered it all.
Entertain a motion to approve the finance report as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Very good, thank you. Committees. We've had the finance Elfrida, do we need an update for City Council?
No, we're still working on our budget, just so
Yeah.
you will know.
But you
But we
passed ours.
appreciate you
But you passed
passing
ours,
ours unanimously. That was very nice.
That was
Yes.
wonderful to see that passed unanimously.
Yep, yep.
That was
I
really
think
great.
we've come a long way, and I think
It was
that-
very positive.
Yeah, I think it was very positive.
Wellness Minute.
And there were words of thanks from us, which I will extend again. The mayor thanked the school committee for the work done in holding the line down to 0% and working together with the extra 100. And so now we're doing the same thing. We're holding the line and asking for more cuts.
Are you holding it at a zero budget?
That's what I want. I want zero budget, but right now it's not at that. But it's not high. It's like, it was 1 point something%, and I think now it's 2 point something. But we've asked, at the last meeting, all the councils have asked for cuts, for the manager to make some more cuts. I know I've made a lot of suggestions, 3 different reports worth, but right now, at this point, we're just going to give them a number and say, go with it.
what
So we'll see
happens.
what happens.
All right, Pat, you sit on 3 committees. Have any of your committees met?
Yes.
Well, let's give us an
There you
update.
go.
There we go.
Actually, only Share Center is met. The CIA is next week, right, Shelley? But I did hear from Karen Millard that they did get the grant for the AMS Walton and Sherwood Heights. I don't
did.
know. Somebody
It
already
was
said that.
approved, yes.
And that grant's about $195,000 a year, and it's awarded for 3 years, so they did
great.
get that. So Share Center they're in the black for this year. They have a new member, the new Mainers Public Health. The end of the year this year will be June 1st in Auburn and June 5th in Topsom, so if teachers need anything, they need to get over there. Bates Mill construction is impacting some of their storage area, but hopefully that'll work out. They're also participating in the Clean Sweep at Bates College, which is it's quite an endeavor for Lisa to do, and she does a great job with it. They've already signed up 69 volunteers, and they're doing an awesome job. Bowdoin College has also offered Share Center their items after their clean sweep. They need, every time I come here, I tell you they need money, they need space for storage, and they need a truck. So if anybody has a truck laying around their yard, let me know. Chop, chop, okay?
Awesome.
Very good. Bonnie, negotiations?
We met on Tuesday afternoon with the teachers. We had a very, very good exchange back and forth with some great ideas going back and forth. And
Be ongoing.
we're well on our way to where we hope to be. And just to say that Bill Riley was not at our meeting, and Bill Riley has been one of the chief negotiators ever since I can remember. And he is sick, and he was not at our meeting, and we asked for prayers for Bill.
Good. And I was not available Thursday evening to be at the building committee, so can you report out on that?
The building committee, the new ELHS building committee. We met with Marshall Consultants out of Augusta. They are a PR group. We met with them. We had a good exchange. We are very concerned that we need to do some publicity before the June referendum. And everybody had great ideas, including the consultant, and that's where Scott is going. That's what was one of our ideas that night, that he was going on to the radio. We've asked for people to put the logo, which is being worked on now, on your Facebook, and send it. I'm adding this part of it. Send it to 5 people and ask them to send it to another 5 people, and see if we can get it all throughout the city. We are going to have some good PR around the city as far as signs go. And the important thing to remember is, it's not vote yes on the referendum. It's vote yes on questions 1 and 2. Question 1, yes, will get you a $105 million building, including grass fields, no lighting, a small auditorium, So you want to vote 2 yes on it too, so that you can at least get some other amenities that the community felt they needed when this was put together to the building committee. This is not the building committee, it's the community that has said what was needed to it. So we are progressing, and you should see us popping out with different ideas all over the place very soon. We've had PTOs donate some money to us so that we can do some physical PR on it. So
Well,
it's,
the PTOs have asked to do things. They're not contributing to us.
no, they're not to the
Right.
building, right.
No,
right.
right, PTOs have asked how they can support.
Right.
And they're stepping up to support. So is the Booster Club, the
And
Music
it's-
Association.
And it's a very good point that Katie's making,
Right.
because we cannot solicit.
Right,
We can just give information
right. When
out.
people ask us for things, we're getting those done.
So it was a good meeting, very interesting, and you should see us. Also, just as an aside, Tom, the mayor's having a big parade
Yes.
on Memorial Day, and we are putting a float in.
Yeah.
2 floats,
We have two
2
floats.
floats, not us, the school department. We have 2 floats going in. One from Franklin
Right, yeah,
and one
combined,
from us.
all combined.
Yeah.
No, it's not, it's 2 floats, right?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
district float.
one from
Yeah,
Franklin, I know that.
One
The other
Franklin.
one, I was told, were all.
It is.
You're right.
It's a district, it's a district float.
Right, a district float.
Right,
That's
right, I'll
good,
do that.
that's good.
So we are doing that. I think it's going to be a great idea. It's a great thing to do. It just comes at a time when we're at the end of school. We have a office upstairs that is very, very busy at this time.
And
And
a
that's,
busy year,
it's
150th.
just something else
Yeah.
to do.
We appreciate your presence because we want as many people there as possible so that we represent everybody in the community,
Exactly.
plus outside as well. We've got over probably about 60-plus units.
yeah.
Good. That's
It's
good.
huge.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
And Harley Davidson might join us too with their trikes, because you can't do a motorcycle in the parade. It's really hard on a motorcycle. But with the trikes, ones with the wheels on the
Yeah.
back, so he's working hard on being there. So everybody, you get little grandkids, bring them, they'll want to see it.
That'll be fun.
What time is that at?
Is it 10?
Memorial Day.
What's that?
It's
at 10
Memorial Day
o'clock?
at 10
It begins at
o'clock.
10, but there's also an encampment thing on Sunday, and it goes through Monday as well. It's Civil War encampment at Bonnie Park. So that would be great to see. Plus, it's the art show, and there's a market, farmer's market. Both the art show and farmer's market will be at the, where Community Little Theater is in the back. So
I'll
there's a lot of
send
stuff
you,
going
the mayor sent me an email that he wants us to get out the message, so I'll forward that email to you.
Great.
Yeah, after
With
the
all the
parade is
links and
done,
everything.
the most important thing is the memorial, the ceremony for, veterans who have passed. So that'll take place as usual. Lewiston usually has that. They have that parade. It's really a small parade, and they have that ceremony at Veterans Park. Well, it'll still take place, but this parade's going to last a little longer than we thought, a little more than a little. And so whenever the parade is done, then I urge
they'll do
people to
that.
go to Veterans Park. It's a very nice memorial, and they honor all branches of the service, so, yeah.
So I would suggest that if anybody has some spare time on Sunday of Memorial Day weekend, you go where, Katie? Where are you?
I think we're putting it together at Walton School.
Go-
The
Fun time.
the flatbed is arriving on Sunday, and all hands on deck are going to be decorating it, putting it together, and our theme is past, present, and future
Wonderful.
schools.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so,
That in the
so,
back.
well, yeah, and then we'll be,
Dollar prizes now,
Yeah.
dollar prize, more than dollar,
Well,
like 500.
So we'll
have the bar here, and maybe we'll go up here.
You
Will
could
our
get a
floats
prize.
We're
promote
going to
the
do
new
our
school?
best. What?
Will the floats promote the new school? Like
Yes.
vote
Yes.
yes on 1 and
Yes.
2?
Well, what
Past,
do you think the
present, and
present
future.
is? What do you think the future
Future.
is?
That's the
Okay,
future.
perfect. I just want to make sure, because that's a lot of people.
Oh, we
will
will
float
be.
by.
Oh, yes.
We don't want to reveal it all at once.
funny.
You had to wait on that one, right?
Cute, yes.
Very clever.
We don't want to reveal it all at once, Faith, you know.
What did you say?
A little mystery and drama on it. We don't want to reveal it all at once.
That's right, surprise, surprise.
Right. So just beware, there's all kinds of things happening to promote the vote.
Very good. Dan, did
Vote
we have
is
any?
June 11th, right?
June 11th.
Yes. 11th.
Absentee ballots are
Absentee.
available. Shelley and Roz and I went down today and voted together, separate ballots. And we took.
I hope so.
We took a selfie for the Twitter feed to say that we had gone and voted, and I said, I guess people could gather what I voted, and I put 3 thumbs up.
Only 2 would have been okay.
Yeah. No, 3, I've got the school budget.
Oh.
Okay, let's not forget the school budget, everybody.
Right.
And I do want to tell you that the ballot has the first question on one side and the second question on the second side. So you do have
Oh,
to
man, are you
turn the
kidding
bullet.
me?
Yeah, I'm just saying, you have to
Turn it over.
the ballot, so that'll be interesting. Even though it says turn it over.
Maybe we could have some sort of instructions with
Right.
there. Don't forget
It
the
is.
backside.
Don't
or
forget that,
something.
well,
Tell
maybe
the-
the clerks can say
tell the
that.
clerk- yeah,
It's a
I'll-
two-sided ballot, yeah.
We wanna make sure.
And all 18-year-olds go out and register to vote. When do they have to
And right,
register
if
by?
you're turning 18 or older, yeah.
When do they have to register by?
No, they can register the day of.
Yes,
do
they
a day.
Perfect.
Okay. How many polls are they going to, polling places?
Same amount.
All of
All
them?
polls will be open on June 11th.
That's what I didn't know.
It would be nice to have the city clerk come to the high school to register kids. They come to caucuses to register parties, to register people.
Oh, they do?
That would be cool.
So it would be nice if the city clerk could go to the high school.
Are you asking me to reach out to the city clerk's office?
Yes.
I am.
Because
I'll
this will be,
second that.
the vote will be after they graduate, so you want to, you can't do it, I mean, you got.
Right, I'm just saying that if you're asking me to ask city clerk, I will do that.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. And we're asking the principal to,
Allow that.
right. He's-
There we go.
Doesn't
Sounds
have a
good.
choice.
Dan, did you have any transportation appeals? No, very good. Upcoming meetings, we have on June 5th, we honor our retirees and our system dropout awards. That's at 6 o'clock.
I have to change the time on that, and I hope everyone can make it. I know, Brian, you're going to be cutting it close, and Dan, I'm hoping you can make it. We need to start at 5 o'clock, so even if you don't get there right on time, but it is class night, so that is the night that our bottom, the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6 speak. The first 5, exactly, the first 5. So it's important that we're in attendance, so we need to start at 5 and then, leave by 6:45 to get to class night. So we'll start with retirees, and then we will do our system dropout awards. But if you can be there at 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock, so mark your calendars, 5 o'clock, Park Avenue, June 6th. That's our recognition evening.
All right,
June 5th.
June 5th.
5th,
June 5th.
5 o'clock.
Thank you. June 5th, 5 o'clock.
Park
Class
Avenue.
night is at 7 o'clock, so if you would like to join us there at Edward Little High School for that, you're more than welcome to come to that.
We can't have everything at the high school? We can't have retirees at the high school?
Could, but you'd have, it wouldn't be as
They'll
comfortable.
be getting ready for.
Yeah.
Right, I think it's fine. I think we have plenty,
You're gonna have time.
plenty time. Scott will look for us to walk in, then he can start up.
That's right.
I'll text him, we are on our way. Yeah.
Be aware that we are having graduation on Saturday, June 8th. School referendum budget vote and the new high school vote is on June 11th. Please remind everyone you know to vote. And a regular school committee meeting on June 19th. Any future agenda items, to let Katie or myself know, we do not have an executive session this evening, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Declare us adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.